Hi class, this is probably one of my favourite chapters because it's one of the key issues in marketing. Is our spend actually doing its job? How's the campaign going? We've launched it. How do we know what's happening? Now, I'm going to go through this. It just has some, especially for larger brands, this is something they're going to do. They're going to find out what is our return. This is fundamental to marketing. Years ago, the old saying was, I know 50% of my advertising spend's working, I just don't know which 50%. Here it's showing you exactly the key questions a campaign manager has to ask. Um, brand building campaigns in particular have to be tracked. So it's got some really good stuff here. So I want to go through this and look at it. And survey tracking. This is one of the things that it's very much, what's a manager do? Your advertiser wants to know, okay, sales are good, everything's right, but you want to know what is actually contributing to sales. Information is power. There could be things that change. Sales change. I mean, what do you turn around and say, hey, we've had a 20% drop in sales? Now, it might be, there might be factors there that all of a sudden you've had a YouTuber say, I dislike this product. 25 years ago, they did this. They don't respect this. They don't do that. Let's boycott it. It might be that you have another competitor whose warehouse is full and they just need to get rid of stock. And sales drop. It's got nothing to do with the advertising works. I mean, advertising is just part of the whole sales process. Right, we drive it, but other variables. There might be in-store promotions. I think I've told you, I've walked into a shop to buy an air conditioner and walked out with a vacuum cleaner with my wife going, oh, so much for the conventional consumer buying process. So there are other issues there. So again, what they're saying here is there are a couple of ways to do it, and one appreciates expensive, but when we're talking major brands in the world, these things are being listed on the stock exchange. Gucci, money really isn't an issue for an established brand. For an entrepreneur, small business, a growing brand, absolutely. So, what do we look at? First, you need to conduct a pre-campaign survey to get a benchmark. Well, that makes sense. What were our sales doing beforehand? Then you've got waves of surveys during the campaign to see what's happened. It'd be really interesting to sort of sit there and go, okay, we've got potentially 10,000 high school kids wanting to go to Wollongong Uni. We've asked them at the start of their year 12, no pandemic, what is your attitude to Wollongong? Then we do a social media campaign, TV blitz, what have you, and then see what's it going, what's changed. And ultimately, we want to see, all right, how many of these guys actually end up going to Wollongong Uni at the end of it, and preferably completing after 3 years. So again, you're talking here of costs 100 to 200,000. There are agencies that do this. The expression chicken feed means petty cash, minimal. Coins in the pocket, when people still had coins. You're talking big brands will spend, 20 million a year and plus. So again, it's interesting, how you do it. But what I really liked was your survey method. Guys, read through this. A panel survey is the only tracking method can truly diagnose the causality. In other words, what is affecting this? This allows cause and effect, and I've always been very big on cause and effect. What actually is driving it? What is the brand promise? Is the campaign working? I mean, we've all seen advertising campaigns where we just go, "Oh, that's just shit." It really isn't good. I saw an advertising campaign the other day for legal services on television. Right, this is about 9 o'clock at night. And I named 3 other competing companies in the Illawarra before it came out, and was Nikolowski Lawyers, which is a highly reputable company. Let me add that. But I thought it was their major competitors. Yeah, they were looking at the need, their values. We look after you. We want amicable solution. By the time I got to the end of it, I was like, "Who the hell are these guys?" I'm asking my wife, and she said, "Oh, it's got to be one of the top three you mentioned." And it was like, "Oh, now I remember who it is." But it wasn't exactly inspiring me. And if I needed those services, is it who I'd go to first? No, because it's not top of mind. Um, so again, guys, look, you've got here. It explains the wave method. It's interesting about different people during the survey period. You just get reaching into an audience and going, bang, what do you think? What do you think? And there's the advantages and disadvantages. That you've also got continuous method. So read through this. Now, clearly the continuous tracking has emerged as a method of choice because you can afford to do it. And they imply causality. In other words, I say, look, we've got enough information, and this thing they call the manager can read what it looks like. Again, large companies don't want to spend a fortune on advertising. No one wants to spend a fortune on advertising. If it works, absolutely, as a defensive weapon, yes, but you want to be as effective as you can. Right, you've got marketing directors going, all right, here's your budget. You've got accountants going, why do you need that much? Show us it impacts your sales. So it's just, here's some of the key things: ad recognition, brand prompted ad recall, category prompted ad recall. These are the questions we ask. Now, for your assignment, part 2, where you're designing a campaign, the rest of this chapter is just absolute gold. It tells you this is what we should be tracking. Well, if that's what companies track, it probably also in reverse should be the goals of your campaign to improve those measures. So look, you've also got interview measures here. How do you do it? Face-to-face is always a better way to go. Internet interviews, they're useful. Now, your survey, where do you put it from? I actually like the idea. Don't ask your current buyers. Current buyers, look, unless you're by far your market leader, you've got 80% market share, then you can ask, fair enough. But apart from that, you always want to find out what the other non-loyal users, infrequent users are doing, especially if you've got the money to do it. It just allows you to see threats coming in and going, you know what, we're sort of losing our positioning in their minds. So you've got here measures used in tracking. I love this. Now, guys, category need, brand recall, brand recognition, purchase action, brand attitude. All of these things could be goals for your campaign. That's why understanding the brand promise, where we sit, how our target market thinks of them, are they brand loyal, other brand loyals, favorable brand switches, all of this stuff that we did earlier comes into play here. Because this is a highly professional activity within a company that either employs an agency or has experts who do it in-house. And this is our profession, guys. We know what this means. We shouldn't be doing marketing. Now, exposure is a media measure. We know that. Gross rating points is how many people, the rate, okay. Total GRPs or media can be found by adding the audience figures. In other words, how many people we've reached for all vehicles in which the ad was placed. In other words, how many people actually saw whatever you're doing. Effective reach, we get. Ad processing measures. You've got self-report of attention to the ad is a biggie. I like the masked ad. In other words, you hide any identifiers and see if people actually remember the imagery or anything related to it. Now, this is the part, if it's in yellow, I like it. Branding failure for TV commercials. I think we realise that most people aren't even watching them. You've got branding losses 45%. After seeing the average new TV commercial first time, only 55% a short time later name it. We're all guilty of that. Okay, we know we're not paying a ton of attention. And now, if you're watching all these great productions on TV, like my wife's very excited about Bachelor in Paradise, and I just laugh saying, you're going to torture me with that. When I sit there and you see 14 ads, it feels like in a row, promoting their stuff, you understand why people record it and just go straight through. Sadly, look, television's still highly effective, but I think it's more for I've noticed for creating brand awareness now for new products. And you got to get to the point, and otherwise it just gets lost. So ad recognition frequency, how often you recognise it. Again, brand communication effect measures. I like the questions. Right, guys, this is our profession, right? This is why we do the advertising. Do you intend to buy a laptop computer in the near future? Yeah, I do. No need for one. No, I already have one. I have one. I'd probably go yes, most probably. A typical recall question would be, when you think of a laptop, which brands come first to mind? This is a great one, guys. When you look at the consumer buying process, mine would probably be Dell, because I've got one right in front of me, and Asus, because that's the one I've got at home. Then HP. Right, I'm not interested in Sony, any of the others. I mean, I could probably name them, but this usually is your first three. I was looking at, in terms of brand recall, a new four-wheel drive, which is Sangyong Muso, Korean brand. I was doing all the reviews last night, but my normal go-to is the Mazda BT50. I've spent a ton of time. I can name Ford Ranger. Hilux is the first name that comes to mind. So it's interesting to know where people fit in. Brand recognition. Absolutely love it. Which of these brands have you seen before? There aren't many brands in terms of four-wheel drives I haven't seen in Australia. I've done my research. Now, purchase or purchase-related. Which, if any, actual online computer stores or retail stores that sell computers have you visited recently? In terms of car yards, I've driven past the Mitsubishi Triton Yard Gateway a heap of times. I actually sort of drive past because my son works nearby. I know what stock they have. I've gone into Mazda Wollongong, and if you're there, ask for Tony, one of the best sales reps I've ever had the privilege of talking to. And if I was to buy a BT50, he's the only guy I would actually buy one from. He's been brilliant. So again, guys, you can see how brand attitude, a distinct. What is brand attitude? Is it my single preferred brand? Is it one of my several preferred brands? Where do I sit? This is the art of marketing and understanding. Because a brand I would not buy under any circumstance would be Great Wall of China. LDV, I considered it for a little bit, looked at the reviews and went, no. A year ago, I wouldn't have even considered it. I don't know about the brand to consider buying it. Well, I did my research, and that's why my decision set. I'm actually going to go into a yard and have a drive of one of these new Sangyong utes. So again, guys, asking the questions, brand satisfaction. Look at the questions. Would you say you expect to be satisfied? Answer. This is what our profession is. We just sit there and ask questions. Now, you've got your media survey results, analysis of tracking results. Part of our job is to figure out what causes it, what doesn't. And they have here, it's very much understanding how accurate your methodology is, what it's telling us, and what some of the potential problems are. So I like the logic behind this, that yes, understand the numbers. Don't accept numbers because people say they're right. I've always said understand how it's collected and what you can do. And again, you can see we're going to quasi-causal, aggregate tracking. All of these things are designed to show that you are the master of your domain. You know what the data means. You know what needs to be changed and manipulated. And here, you've got a nice summary campaign trains to manage the campaign. This is what I like. What are the actions? Is or not working? If our we had what was it? UOW what was it? I can't remember. Study for purpose. Some of our campaigns, I just sit there and go, oh, okay, they sort of leave me numb. But if they work for the customer, and never assume that a 50-year-old guy with 3 PhDs from Wollongong, not 3 PhDs, 3 degrees from Wollongong is a target market. Is it or isn't it working? Why? Ask them. What's the budget? Do we need to spend more? The people who've heard the campaign think it's great. Let's get it out there more. The media plan, yeah, we're not quite hitting the right approach. Adjust the exposure rate in the pool. Again, this is just the finesse. This is adjusting your 4Ps is before a massive launch, but this is literally adjusting your promotion P. That's it. So guys, this is what we do. How do we track? How do we initiate? I just like it. This is just the game plan of what's going wrong, what do you look at, and I really like the campaign we're at. Now, one of the interesting things a lot of students ask me is like, Elias, why do Harvey Norman, these places just keep playing the same ad for the last 15 years? Every week there's a new campaign, a greatest sale, a car park sale, domain, limited time only. It's the same stuff for the last 5-10 years. Guys, people who advertise do not like wasting their money. If it's working and the sales are consistent, they just keep doing it. How quickly will a new campaign peter out before it's not relevant? Well, that's where audience research, knowing what's going on, who's got a small attention span, what media they're using, is it sitting in a magazine that people will pick up the magazine and read for 5 times or pass it on to 3 friends. This is us knowing why I put so much importance in appreciating who is your audience, what are their consumption habits, how do they use the medium, and to get the job done. So look, we've got audits. This is just part of the process. When do we fix it? When don't we? And that's just what we do, guys. So look, have a read through this. The main thing I wanted you to do is, and here they just say, look, if you've recognized that this is the problem, this is the solution. If this is the problem, we go to part B. This is just your playbook, but still you've got to have data. And again, I think this is something that you know it's here. You can refer back to it when you're in a company. I don't think you need to try to memorize it. I do like this summary table, but guys, it's just a good chapter in understanding that when we spend money, we want a return. And as marketers, we want to know what works. I mean, was it the influencer? Was it the creative? Was it a combination of creative? Was it just good timing? And one of the funniest things I know is the amount of really good campaigns that just worked, right? The creative worked. It was the timing was right. They say the stars aligned as an expression. And then they sit back and spend 2 years explaining, oh, we did this properly. Our strategy was correct. We theorised this, we theorised that. And most people in the marketing game go, oh, that's just pure bullshit. Yes, you had some good ideas. It just happened to work well for you. And you let it run from there. Again, the best bit of advice is take the approach that this book has, which is professional, know what matters, ask the key questions, and look at it from the perspective of a marketing manager. What do I need to know to keep my product going well and keep my job and not end up at Centrelink? And this is the fundamentals in this chapter are really rock solid. And I strongly recommend you look at it before you do your final marketing plan. These are what we measure at the end, but are these the goals we should be looking at? Try to match it up. I hope this has made sense. I mean, I enjoyed this chapter because it brings out the competitive nature. We're creating ads up against our opposing companies. That's it. All right, enjoy. It's a good chapter.